Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unapologetically Random. This is your host, Herbert, and this is the second episode on the podcast series. I think it's been so long since I've created stuff on this channel. I do apologize. I've been away, busy with uh, school, basically. A lot of assignments, a lot of things that I need to prioritize, which is my studies, basically. Which I will get further into. It's definitely relevant to the things that I want to talk today or tonight. I should say because it's quite late now. I don't know why I decided to do the podcast at this hour, but hey, whatever works, I guess. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. If you're new to this channel, I basically talk about pretty much anything really, but for this podcast episode, I really just want to focus on something that I believe a lot of people my age will probably experience. um, it's basically on how I dealt with the pandemic as a student. um, so yeah, I believe everyone has their own different experience when it comes to dealing with the pandemic. Whether you're already working, whether you're still a student, whether you're a parent, everyone has different ways to overcome the difficulties in this like testing times, especially. And I do think that uh, a lot of times we may be confused, find it really difficult to uh, do things sometimes because obviously it's not that easy to go around nowadays, especially in Malaysia now, where I'm at now. The second or third wave is spiking and stuff. So definitely not a, I guess, the situation to be careless under. So yeah, definitely wash your hands, wear a mask when you're out. So anyway, yeah, I've been a student, a uni student for my fourth year now. I have another semester coming up next year, so that's fun. Hopefully there's some improvements next semester because this semester has been such a crap show. Is a nice way to say it. It's a lot of things that could have gone well, honestly. But I'll get into that later on. But basically, as I was saying, I am currently in my fourth and final year as a uni student. For those wondering, I'm taking mass communication, focusing on journalism and screen production, which is basically filming stuff. That's how that's how I basically explain it to people that don't quite get what screen production means. Which is probably most of my cousins whenever they ask what am I studying. Um, Usually they will ask what I study, and then I'll say mass communication, and then they were like, "What is mass communication?" And then I would basically just say, "Oh, I edit videos. I do some things with cameras. I write some news articles, maybe." So yeah, that's kind of how I explain it to people that people around me that don't quite get what mass communication is. But I mean, I can't really blame them, especially if you're if you're growing up as an Asian. There's not a lot of mass communication experts or people that really study mass communication. I think that it's not a big thing. Basically, there's a lot of doctors, there's a lot of engineers, a lot of business experts, students, but mass communication is not something that, growing up being Asian is something that they would think you'll take when you grow up. So I understand it. I mean, it is what it is, but it it it'll get annoying sometimes when people ask what you're studying, because I feel like maybe it's just me. I don't really like to explain myself repetitively. It gets old and it just gets boring when I say it too often. So that maybe that's just me, but at the end of the day, I don't mind asking. I mean, not asking, answering that kind of question. But anyway, it's not relevant to my topic today. Just gonna talk about my experience during the pandemic. Yeah, obviously it's hard for me as a student. Everything has to be changed. Basically, everything has to be online. Is the main thing. Um, Nothing is physical anymore. So it is pretty hard on the lecturers and those who are teaching because they really have to adapt to online teaching in such a short time, and I'm pretty sure nobody was prepared for it honestly. Obviously, us as students, we were never ever mentally prepared for an online learning environment. So first thing, obviously, it's very different than physical learning, in that you kind of lose the beauty of learning in class, where you you actually can focus. At least in my case, I tend to focus better when I'm in class with my attention fully on the whatever that was being taught. But in like the online learning environment, which is in my room most of the time, it is definitely difficult to focus because I have a bed really near me, um, and then you're like using your laptop to attend these classes, which, you know, if you're on a laptop, you might get distracted very easily. You can just open YouTube and watch a video while you're in class. You can listen to Spotify while you're in class. And yeah, I have to admit I did all of that. So it is a difficult thing to adapt. Obviously, um, it's not easy to get used to learning online in the beginning because there are a few things that you have to consider when it comes to learning online. Is that how are you going to communicate with your tutors, your lecturers? How are you going to communicate with your group mates, your classmates? How do you do discussions online is the thing. And speaking of discussions online, again, this is another thing that is definitely unavoidable. That is like, because everyone is in different locations, whether it's in the country or around the world. It is obviously difficult to do discussions when the time zones are different, when not everyone has really fast internet. I was actually lucky enough to have decent speed here, thank goodness, because I feel bad for those who constantly have to find good or even decent internet just to attend classes. I feel like that's a privilege, honestly. And I feel like not everybody has that ability to get decent internet speed just to attend classes. And yeah, I just thought that I was very privileged to have access to all these things that makes the online learning experience not that difficult to adapt when compared to those who are less fortunate. But obviously, you know, I, I do wish, I do wish I can, well, not me, but like I wish there's some way that we can help those who uh, who are less fortunate, who needs, internet, who needs electronic devices to go online for classes. But yeah, other than that, I do try to adapt pretty quickly. I managed to do it in like a month time, but it's not by no means better than physical class. I still prefer on physical classes. Maybe it's different for everyone else, but for me, that's where I focus a lot better. That's where I can ask questions better. I get feedbacks better because that's the whole beauty of human interaction, right? Like face-to-face communication is always the best, no matter what. Um, so yeah, that's missing. So that's something that I try to adapt until now. But yeah, I believe a lot of other like college or university students like me experienced. So yeah, there's that. And the second thing that I learned throughout this pandemic as a student is that not everyone can understand you properly. So this is kind of related to my first point in that the physical interactions is gone. Because this is gone, basically you find it really difficult to get your point out in discussions. Sometimes you really just sometimes you have no idea what your teammates or group mates are talking about, because maybe their points are too difficult to understand. Maybe it's the internet that makes them laggy, sounds like robots and stuff like that. So these things definitely affect discussions, and not to mention assignments. So for some reason, I don't know why, for my case at least, there's just so many group assignments, which I find really interesting and annoying at the same time. Don't get me wrong though, I don't mind doing group assignments, but when it's online, it's such a difficult thing to not just get used to, I guess, but more on the interaction aspect of it, because it's gone, right? You just don't you'll never have a great experience discussing, because this aspect is so important when it comes to making decisions as a group, doing work as a group. And when the discussions are difficult to organize, that's where sometimes it's not even your fault, basically. And yeah, I just find it really difficult to adapt to. um but so far I don't really have too big of an issue though, luckily. We managed to adapt whenever things are not going too well with group discussions. I have this group assignment where we literally have to switch to Discord to do like presentation practices. And yeah, very grateful to all those group mates that I've worked with for being really supporting, very nice, very understanding with each other, very cooperative as well. So yeah, I guess it's not too bad of an experience on that part, but other than that, it's still by no means not difficult. It's still a difficult thing to adapt to. So yeah, perhaps you guys may have the same experience as well. So the third point, I guess, is that throughout this pandemic is where I actually open my eye to who actually care for you as a student and who don't necessarily care for you as a student. What I mean by this is that, especially the university itself, um, obviously not going to mention names, but just gonna point out a really brutally honest experience as a student during this pandemic is that it was it was a very nightmarish experience being a student during this like whole thing, because, well, first of all, um I was already kind of pissed off when, despite being fully online, the fees are not deducted for some reason. um well, I guess if they properly explain why they don't, then I would probably understand more. But the thing is, transparency is not really there. Really trying to understand why this decision wasn't being made or even considered. Um, because, well, I'm not necessarily talking for myself, really. A lot of my friends or like people that I know who are studying in other unis as well, they also experienced the same thing. Their uni wasn't really helping much with their situations, and the fact that university can be really really expensive. I mean, horrifyingly expensive for some. Um, it is really important that these students and I guess myself feel supported by the uni in this like tough situations. And I find that a lot of the people I know that are still studying their uni don't really support them. Not necessarily. It doesn't have to be fee deductions. Sometimes it can be like helping them with, being less strict with marking assignments, being less strict with teaching, trying their best to support students, and just these things doesn't really exist for some reason, which really bothers me a lot because, um, as a student, I feel like we have the right to get support, no matter what kind of support it is. It's always appreciated. Um, but the thing is still that the fees are still really expensive, and especially under this kind of economical situation where a lot of people lost their jobs, shops are closing down, going bankrupt, in the worst case. So yeah, it really bothers me that studying is still so expensive under the pandemic, which, yeah, again, bothers me a lot and could have been done better. Um, and not even I'm not even pointing at any university. It's just I just wish that they understand that not all students are capable of continuing their studies. Some even barely making it. Some, like myself, I'm from a middle class family. We're not rich by no means, but we're not poor. We're just in the middle, right? We're in the middle class, just barely enough to support the family. um and even we find it really tough to pay for our fees because, uh not both my parents are not, uh not both my parents. My dad is retired, so basically he's not working anymore, and that puts a lot of pressure on my mom, when it comes to paying fees for me. Honestly, I wish I could pay my own fees, but just the fact that there's no way for me to look for my own income in the pandemic makes it a lot difficult. So there's that. I believe a lot of people share this experience, like myself, where we're just not that fortunate enough to be able to fully support ourselves for studying. And yeah, I just, again, I'm gonna repeat it. It bothers me that a lot of universities out there just doesn't care necessarily about their students. So that then brings me my fourth point. Mental health is definitely taking a toll during this pandemic. Um, just a lot of things as students, we just felt a lot of pressure to perform, study, do assignments. And the thing is that we're basically doing the same thing with or without the pandemic. It's just that with the pandemic, we we have this fear of, uh, you know basically COVID-19. It just creates fear, right? In nature, hearing the virus itself creates fear, and you just don't want to get the virus. Simple as that. Doing all the precautions, going out less, wearing masks all the time, sanitizing your hands all the time, all these things just add up into a form of stress. At least in my case, a lot of anxiety was formed as well. You know, I was like super scared to go out. Like I didn't leave the house for like a full 3 months at least, because I was just so scared about getting the virus and infecting everyone around me. And that that just puts a lot of pressure onto myself, not to mention assignments, studying, all that into one. It just creates this pressure on our shoulder that is like super stressful and anxiety inducing and frankly depressing, honestly. My mental health was not in good condition during the pandemic, and I can relate it with my friends as well. They don't have a good time also. It kind of makes me feel better also, in that I don't feel alone in that situation. But then again, coping with it is such a difficult time. Um, a lot of stressful moments during the pandemic, and I guess thankfully I try to adapt to it. I try to overcome my fears, my anxiety, basically the mental health um part. I try to cope with it, and yeah, thankfully a lot of things help get me distracted. um Being on calls, voice call, video call on Discord with my friends, it definitely helped a lot. Playing video games with friends, that definitely helped. um yeah, sharing our thoughts and just talking with each other is probably one of the best things that, you know, helped me to overcome these stress and anxiety. And yeah, it just, I just hope that, you know, for anyone out there that's listening, um maybe you're stuck in a situation where you're just having trouble mentally. You just need help to overcome. Perhaps uh trying talking to your friends definitely help. In my case, I'm not trying to, you know, trying to be the hero by, you know, telling you to find your friends. I'm just saying that this thing helped me. Perhaps it can help you too. It's worth the try, at least. But yeah, talking to your friends is such an important thing that I do a lot. It helps me keep myself uh, in a healthy mind state. Um, and in most cases, it definitely kept my mind positive. And yeah, in a way, it's basically just a distraction from whatever is going around the world, which is really scary, and you just don't want to think about it most of the time. So as a student, interactions again is such an important aspect that I cannot imagine myself not talking to anyone really. Um, it could be my worst decision if I don't do it. So yeah, talking to people definitely help. So I guess that's pretty much all the things that I have in mind, really. I don't really share anything else. Well, not share. I mean, I don't necessarily experience anything different other than what I've already mentioned. Um, so I just want to say, like, I hope that to all of you guys who are listening, thank you first of all, and I do hope that you guys, you know, find your way to cope with this pandemic, because yeah, it's definitely not a nice situation to be under. It's not a good thing to, you know, think about sometimes. So I hope it helps for you to find your own way to cope through listening to this video. Perhaps you can find something positive in your life. um, Talk to people, definitely talk to people, talk to your family, your friends. um, Perhaps it works to help you feel better, everyone needs some loving care, nowadays. So yeah, definitely hope you guys are doing well. um, Definitely remember to wash your hands, keep your hygiene, wear your mask, do whatever you can to prevent the chain from the chain of COVID-19 happening over again. It really does affect everyone. One careless mistake is just gonna cause a lot of things happen, which is not gonna be nice. So yeah, please be careful if you're gonna go out. um, Watch yourself, stay out of the public if you can. Do something to entertain yourself. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. Not sure how long it's gonna be because I'm recording right now. I have no idea how long it is or how long I've been talking, but thank you again for tuning in. I have a few uh new contents coming up because it's my semester break. I have more time to do stuff. So I'm definitely gonna put some time into making contents for this channel, and I hope you guys will stay tuned as well. Perhaps a new podcast episode soon, perhaps a new video coming soon. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But other than that, again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I've been having a good time talking, sharing my thoughts. Is also the one thing that definitely helped me cope with this pandemic. So thank you once again. I'm your host, Herbert. Thank you for tuning in to Unapologetically Random, and I'll talk with you guys again next time. Bye.